Hey, what's up? So it's 3:55 a.m. midnight or early morning on a Monday early morning. So I'm just out here vibing, like just vibing and writing code, of course. I mean, I couldn't sleep, so what else could I do apart from writing code? So yeah, so nowadays, what am I doing nowadays? I'm just, I don't have much doing. I'm just trying to write some backend. So I've been writing, I've been, don't get me wrong though. I've been onto some real projects, been building real projects. Obviously, if you ask me, I'll say I don't have much doing, but what I've been doing really is that, I've been working on some real projects, mostly back end though. Like I'm kind of tired of front end nowadays. I've been writing a lot of front end code like all my life. I mean, like for the good part of my life, I've been writing front end. So I decided to take backend seriously. Let me unfocus and focus on backend. And I mean, that doesn't mean I've not written backend before. Of course, I've written backend before. I mean, back then in 20, funny enough, I started with backend before front end, but I settled with front end. So like, I've been writing backend with JavaScript for so long. Like, I started backend even before Flutter. So like, everybody knows me for Flutter, and like people that know me, they think I'm this badass this Flutter lord, or be this Flutter badass programmer. But funny enough, I first wrote HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Although that's cliche, though, almost every programming person or almost every programmer out there started with HTML. But like after HTML, that's like the basics. But like after HTML, I went straight to JavaScript. JavaScript, I was learning Express.js, Express Node.js for with MongoDB, classic noob backend developer something, it's something that many of us have done. But then me personally, I ended up not settling. I mean, I settled for Node.js for a long time, but I mean, not a long time, just for like a few months. But I ended up, I mean, I just dropped Node.js and I went to Flutter, obviously. So I've been writing Flutter for years now. Time, man. I'm writing Flutter for a long time. But this year, like from the beginning of this year, I've been even from not even beginning since like ending of last year, around like I think like September. Yeah, September 2023. September 2023, I've been writing both React, basically full stack web development, React, Node, you name it. And I've been writing a lot of JavaScript, man, and so far so good. I mean, I've always had this weird dislike for JavaScript. Like I've not been a fan of JavaScript, man. Like I don't like I don't like JavaScript. I know I'm not alone on this one. Like I'm sure there's like millions of developers out there that agree with me on this one. Obviously, the JavaScript fanboys will not be impressed with my take on this, but I mean, who am I? I'm just a random lazy programmer in his house sitting down and writing code. So like my opinion doesn't even matter. And of course, I don't even care. Great, man. Like just because you see me writing JavaScript doesn't mean I'm not an advocate of JavaScript, man. I'm not saying everybody should drop JavaScript and jump into Python or any other programming language out there. But me personally, I have this beef for JavaScript. And you know what? You know what now pisses me off the most? There's this thing called TypeScript. So there's the JavaScript is basically this very wacky programming language that when you write a lot of JavaScript code, even something as simple as just a note app, things can easily get chaotic. Like before you know it, there's chaos everywhere. You've lost track of everything. Like you don't even know what's going on your own code. Like you are the one that wrote this code, but you don't even understand the code anymore. You just leave this code for like you create a new JavaScript project today, and then you somehow got busy on other project and you decided to leave this project and come back just 2 weeks later, you're back and you don't even know what's going on this project anymore. Like you don't even, you are lost. You are like in the middle of nowhere. Like JavaScript feels like Walter and Jesse stuck in the middle of the desert trying to build a battery to power the truck that will drive them out of the desert. It's that's what happens when you abandon the JavaScript project for like just a few weeks and come back. That's the feeling you get when you're trying to figure out your way around again. So man, JavaScript easily gets messed up, man. Yeah, you might argue that, oh, I'm just not good at it, or maybe I'm just a wacky programmer. I can't argue with you on that, but you can argue that, but honestly, I feel like JavaScript generally is is a wacky programming language, man. Like JavaScript shouldn't have been a programming language. It should have been a scripting language or something. Even for scripting, JavaScript is fucked. Anyway, that's my own me telling me shit. If you're a JavaScript programmer out there, don't chat to me, man. Don't tell me nothing. Don't fucking tell me anything. I did not ask for your comments. I did not ask for your comments. Don't tell me anything. I don't want to hear it. Just save it. Just fucking save it. Yeah, so that's that about JavaScript and TypeScript. TypeScript, man. TypeScript pisses me off, man. TypeScript, there's JavaScript programmers out there that try to evangelize TypeScript to me. And I'll tell them, yo, JavaScript is shit. And they'll be like, yo, Michael, have you tried TypeScript? Have you tried TypeScript? As if TypeScript is this strongly typed programming language that has a lot of object-oriented programming advantages and all. Guess what? Guess what? TypeScript is just JavaScript, but with extra steps and a lot of boilerplate. That's just what TypeScript is, man. TypeScript is just another dog shit. Yeah, I know. There's JavaScript lovers and TypeScript lovers out there, but let's be honest, man. TypeScript is just as wacky as JavaScript is. Like, let's just let's call it a speed, man. TypeScript is just as whack as JavaScript. You just it's crazy, man. It's crazy, bro. TypeScript for backend, maybe I could manage, but TypeScript for front end, oh hell no, oh hell no. TypeScript for front end, man. Funny enough, to an extent, TypeScript for front end is a little bit more reliable, but it's still it's still like JavaScript. It's still basically JavaScript, same old same JavaScript, but with extra steps. So like there's TypeScript lovers out there that try to preach TypeScript as if TypeScript is this solution, is like a fix for JavaScript shortcomings, but TypeScript is really still JavaScript. It's there's no running away from this thing, man. It's just like it's not really a stable fix. It's basically like there's a hole in your pipe, in your kitchen pipe, and then TypeScript is like the duct tape. You take duct tape and you slap it on the hole. Now, the leakage is fixed, but then it's not that's not an ideal solution. Although there's no more leakage, but then duct tape though, like duct tape. Nah, bruv. Nah, no way. I don't want duct tape on the pipe. I just want to replace the whole drainage system, man. I don't want just any wacky duct tape, bruv. Who knows what will happen to the duct tape? Even the duct tape is not even stable. It's not even reliable. Like I know duct tape is strong, I know, but come on, man. Come on. Come on. Well, that's not about TypeScript and JavaScript. But just remember though, I'm just a random programmer ranting and talking my shit because obviously there's so many JavaScript lovers out there, and I'm not saying you should not use JavaScript. I'm not even bruv. If JavaScript works for you, then by all means go for it. But as for me, don't let nobody come to me and tell me about Java. If you tell me about JavaScript, I will just don't let me tell you what will happen. But bruv, don't chat to me. If you see me, don't tell me about JavaScript, man. If you have my Twitter or my my social media. Don't chat to me about JavaScript, bruv. I go vex for you. Aje. Anyway, that's that about. So what have I been working on lately? I don't know. I don't know how to explain, but I don't really have much working on. I've been writing like I said, I've been writing Flutter for years now, and Flutter dot Flutter, you name it, you call it whatever you want, but nowadays I've been writing dots still, but not with Flutter. I've been writing dots, just pure dots with, you know, just dot for backend. I don't know if you guys have heard of it like this. You can actually write backend. You can write REST APIs, and even you can even implement block, what they call it. You can implement webhooks with Dart backend and all, like Dart backend by all means. I'm not saying you should leave your JavaScript and all, and obviously there's thousands of, libraries and packages on npm.js that as a JavaScript developer you can basically get a lot of things done without writing too much code, without figuring too many things out, because so like once upon a time, one JavaScript developer has figured it out and he published it on. So yeah, we have the same thing for Dart too, but obviously the pub.dev for Dart is not as wired, it's not as developed as npm.js. I'm not saying Dart is underdeveloped, but obviously Dart is still relatively new compared to JavaScript. So obviously we will not have as many packages on our package store and all. But yo, I think that the pub.dev on that kind of have most of the things that you need. But if there's something you want and you don't have it yet, you can take it upon yourself to build it. After all, you're a badass programmer. Why not just build it? And of course, you have other programmer friends, and even there's GitHub and Stack Overflow on Twitter, the Flutter community on Twitter and Instagram. You can even find you can find more Flutter and Dart developers to like contribute to your open source Dart package, and you can publish it on pub.dev. It's gonna be very, very useful to so many other Dart programmers, even somewhere in the future, even 5 years down the line, someone might come across your package and even and it's gonna make their life much, much, much easier. And that's gonna do a lot for the community and the open source community and all that. So yeah, Dart by all means, honestly. So far I've been writing Dart code for backend, and honestly, my honest opinion is that I'm not a Dart fanboy by any means, and I'm a very realistic person. If I see something I don't like, I will definitely say I don't like it. I can't say, oh, because I've been writing Dart for years now, then I must love DartFrog. So like the obviously there are so many different frameworks for Dart backend. There's DartFrog, there's Serverpod, there's Shelf, Alfred, you name it. There's so many of them. But then the one I'm using is basically DartFrog, and it's developed by VGV, Very Good Ventures. Shout out to them, man. Shout out to them. Those guys really built something nice, something special. I mean, it's not that special, but I mean, kudos to them for building it. Yeah, it reminds me of Express.js in a way. It's basically like Shelf, which is like Express.js, but it's good stuff, man. Believe me when I say it's good stuff. So you might have, obviously I'm a human and I'm not AI. I'm a Flutter developer, I'm a Dart developer, and obviously I'm very, very comfortable with Dart, and I would have my own bias. But overall, I've been enjoying building backend with Dart. I've been enjoying it for real. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, so basically I'm using Dart and MongoDB, as you can see. I don't know if you guys can see my screen right now. So I'm using Dart, MongoDB, and I've been writing a lot of MongoDB query, trying to populate data, Yeah, like I said about the Dart package something. There are some packages on npm.js we would use for JavaScript that's just gonna make life much, much easier. Whereas in Dart, some of those packages are not available yet because obviously people have not built it yet, developers have not built it yet, and the adoption rate is not that high yet. But of course, you can, like I said, you can take it upon yourself to build the package that you want or that you are looking for or that you need. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to build what you need. Even if you build it, you might not be the only one that will end up using it. It's probably like thousands of other developers that will use it even for the next 10 years. Who knows? People might still be using it like this. So, for example, there are some caveats. So there are some caveats with Dart. There are some caveats with Dart's backend, which is basically, yeah, someone told me that they don't like Dart because you have to deploy using Docker, and they don't like Docker, therefore they don't like Dart. I'm like, no. Yeah, you can deploy using Docker, but you don't absolutely have to use Docker. There is this server.dart file auto generated here that you can basically move this server.dart file from here down to your project root, and from there you can write it manually. You can auto generate it here, then move it here for deployment, then run it. You can clone your repository on your server and then run it. It should work. So that's not really a real problem. Obviously there's a solution for that. There's a very easy fix for that, but the real problem now is basically that my own personal problem is the one that I've come across is has to do with validation. So when you send a request, for example, when you send a login request, you kind of have to find a way to validate the request body. So there's this request body here. Obviously, request body comes in, you encode it as a JSON. Sorry, you decode the JSON, and you can use the properties, the email and whatever to, generate a token and all. But then, how do you verify that the email is a valid email? How do you verify that the password is a valid password? If you can check on my sign up, obviously there are ways to do that manually. You can even move that to the model. But then, back then when I was writing JavaScript with Mongoose and MongoDB, there are automatic ways to create schemas, and you can create a schema, you can set up the fields, you can make a field required, you can make one with a validation, you can use regular expression for validation, you can make it required true, you can, make it optional. There's so many things that are like magical about the Mongoose package in particular in NPM, that once I come to that, I now like, I used to take those things for granted, but once I started writing that, I now remember that, wait, there's this very powerful package we use in JavaScript that kind of makes life easy. And obviously you can actually ignore my code here. This is basically just child's play. I've not really started building real stuff yet, but yeah, well, yeah, you can look at this and say I'm writing shit code, but yeah, I agree with you. I'm writing shit code, but I've not really started writing anything, anything, anything serious yet, right? But I'm still like testing. I'm still trying to like find my way around this, DartFrog framework. So don't worry, just pardon my shit code. Obviously, there's Flutter developers out there. There's like Dart developers out there that are like, oh, why is this guy writing shit code like this? I mean, I don't always write code like this though. This is just for demo purposes, obviously. So yeah, just ignore it, man. Ignore it. Fuck. So yeah, all this validation. One is validation. Two, for MongoDB, when you yeah, there's this data aggregation in MongoDB where if you get data from a collection, you can populate a particular field. You can populate the data in a particular field. So ideally in Express.js with Mongoose, you can just say user repository. No, not here. So let's say we are getting the followers endpoint. You can just say get followers. You can just say followers collection dot find, and then you pass in your query where ID is equal to the ID. Then at the end you write dot populate. So when you write dot populate, you populate the ID field or the follower field. So when you do that, it would replace the object ID with the actual JSON object. So it will take the object ID, to go to your user's collection, and it would find the JSON object of the user that owns that object ID. So that way you can write magical code without too much dependency injection. But obviously I found a fix for that. I mean, there's really no fix for that yet, but deep down in the Mongo dot package, there are actually ways to get that done, but you just have to write more code. So I wrote my own DB collection extension that has the find and populate function. So you can pass in your query, the selector, and you can pass in the fields that you want to populate. So obviously it's a bit more, you kind of have to write more code to achieve the same thing, but that's not a problem. Obviously we are lazy programmers. We want to write less code, but you know, these things take time to build, innit? But we can work with this for now. So that's my own personal beef with DartFrog. It's not even a problem with DartFrog per se. It's just a problem with the fact that there are not much packages and plugins on the DartFrog, sorry, on the pub.dev website yet. So in our what they call it, so in our pub.dev too. So our package is basic. Pub.dev is basically like npm.js for Dart. So that's the um that's the website where most of our packages are hosted. Our open source Dart packages and plugins, and even Flutter packages as well. So it's not just Dart. Some of them are specific to Flutter. Some of them work with Flutter and Dart. It's basically Flutter and Dart work together, right? So if you build a Dart package, you can import it in your Flutter project, and you can import Flutter packages in your Dart project, as long as your Flutter package does not rely on UI element. So if your Flutter package rely on UI element and you try to import it, most Flutter packages do, by the way. If you try to import it in your Dart project, you will get a UI, you get an error, because because our Dart project is not built to support UI. So I hope you understand that. So this Mongo Dart, it's basically what we use to establish connection with our MongoDB. So we will establish a connection, we open the DB, and we just basically collection dot find. Obviously all these things are easy, simple things, but there are some things that just are yet to be implemented. So obviously you can take it upon upon yourself to get it done, right? That's not an issue. After all, you're a badass programmer. I mean, we are badass engineers. We can find solutions to these problems. It's not even like these problems don't have solutions. It's just that the solutions are kind of like they kind of have a lot of boilerplate code involved. So we kind of have to do some abstraction to like reduce the amount of code people have to write to make the thing more convenient. It's just about, you just have to bring about a good developer experience for the people that are gonna, for the developers that are going to adopt this Flutter dot, sorry, this dot backend something. And obviously ignore my print statement. And no, I have this very weird way of printing stuff when I'm when I'm debugging. I kind of I want my debug printing statements to stand out in the terminal, so I tend to put these arrows. It's my own personal, I just like to put these arrows so that I can easily spot it in the terminal. But you don't, just ignore it, man. I know it gives some of you some bad vibes, but just ignore it, man. It's not an issue, man. Not really an issue. So that's my own beef basically. It's basically, I don't know, it's not really a big problem. It's just me coming from JavaScript where they have a lot of packages that make things convenient, and me coming to Dart where there are not much packages yet. That's just the only problem I have. I'm already used to like using those packages. That's my own issue. It's not really, it's not a problem per se. It's just a minor inconvenience for me, but overall I feel way more comfortable writing code in Dart than JavaScript. So it's a bit ironic when I say, oh, it was comfortable writing stuff in JavaScript. After all, I have a beef with JavaScript, right? But at the same time, I have a beef with the programming language itself, not the not the packages or the whatever. I mean, there are amazing packages out there for JavaScript, but the programming language itself is very, very wacky. Man, sorry to those guys that love JavaScript, man. I'm not even trying to beef you or anything. I'm not even like trying to be disrespectful, but it's just my own personal experience in it. So I'm sure we all have that programming language that we that we dislike. Maybe not hate. I can't hate JavaScript, man. I've done amazing things. I've built lovely projects with JavaScript, man. So I don't hate JavaScript. It's just very inconvenient for me. That's it, honestly. Yeah, I forgot to mention I've written some code in Java too. I've written some code with JavaScript. Sorry, for in Java Spring Boot back in the days. So we have this in Java Spring Boot. So let's go to the root. The root. Sorry. Uh so how do I navigate this? Okay. API. So let's just, yeah, so this is a sample project that I was using for reference. So there's this amazing guy that built this project on GitHub. So I just kind of use this project as a reference, but the guy did not use, obviously the guy did not use what do you call it? He did not use MongoDB on his own project. He used this Stormberry database. It's basically, I don't know, I made some, I don't I've never used Stormberry before, but it's kind of like an SQL type, like an SQL type sheet, sure. But I basically use it for references anyway. So let's go to an endpoint. This is basically the root endpoint that returns dot welcome to DartFrog, right? So if you wanted to, so if you sent any request, whether a post request or get request or anything, it would surely return welcome to DartFrog, right? So it would surely return welcome to DartFrog. So I think we should test it out on Postman. So if we test this out, it will return welcome to DartFrog, even if it use post request, whatever and whatever. So every request that comes in will return this response. But then how do we distinguish between post request or get request? So you can do context dots. Oh, what's wrong with me? So you can do context dot requests, and then you just do if. So if it is a get request, it will return a response body. So if it's a get request, it will return this is a get request. So yeah, like I forgot to mention there's hot reload on DartFrog as well. So there's hot reload. So once I save it, when I do hot reload and I save it, to automatically reload the server. So yeah, to automatically reload the server. So when I go on Postman and send a get request to return, this is a get request. But if I send any other request, it should return welcome to DartFrog. So I had a Java I had a Java developer, one of my old friends. The guy is very, very big on Java, like a big Java fan. Like, I don't know, man. This man really likes Java for real. Like, he told me something. He said, and I'm even aware of it. Back then when I was writing Java Spring Boot, we would have this, what do you call it? We would have these annotations, something like get at get. Then we would specify the route. So like this kind of thing in Java, these annotations in Java where you specify a get and then for put you specify put, post and put and all that. So that's how we used to create endpoints in Java. And my man was like, damn, I can't even use Dart because they don't have annotation. I'm like, yo, why you have a beef with Dart because they don't have annotations? Like, dude, like just because they don't have annotations. Is it because of annotation that you don't like Dart, or is it because of something else? Like, are you sure annotations is your problem, or do you just don't like Dart? Like, and I had a very long talk with the man. Obviously, I had a long talk, and my guy was like, "Oh, I can't use Dart yet because it's not yet mature." And I'm like, yeah, that's quite that's understandable, but for you to say it because they don't have annotation, I'm like, yeah, come on, you have to be kidding me, babe. You kind of have to be kidding me. How can you tell me you don't use Dart because you don't have annotations? That's not an excuse, fam. That's not really an excuse, babe. But anyway, so there's people out there that are very picky with the programming language that they want or that they like, and I'm not against it though. You can use any programming language you want. I'm not an advocate of oh, you must use this programming language for this and that, or you must use this particular database. There's people out there that are like big on SQL. Like people out there, like if I tell them, oh, I'm using MongoDB, I'm like, and they will be like, yo, why are you using MongoDB? Come on, why don't you use SQL? SQL is nice, SQL is amazing, SQL is this and that and that and that and that. I'm like, bruv, now MongoDB I won't use. Let me use my MongoDB in peace, bruv. I mean, there are people out there that are just like, I mean, it's basically from their own perspective, it's basically they're just trying to like put you onto some very, very nice technology and all, but from my own perspective, now waiting I want use now I won't use. I mean, I'm open-minded though. Don't get me wrong. I'm open-minded to an extent, right? I'm open-minded. I'm able to like take people's advice and reflect on it. Then I would make my own decision. So you can advise me. I will listen to your advice. Although sometimes nobody can tell me shit. Like there are some things that I want to do. Like when I make my decision, nobody can tell me shit. Like nobody's gonna tell me shit. I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. I'm not gonna listen to anything. Now waiting I want to now I'm good. But there are some times when like most times I'm open minded and all, and I'm able to like process people's advice, and not everybody's advice. If you get some people who go advise me, I'm not gonna listen to them. But usually I'm able to process advice, then I will reflect on it. But at the end of the day though, I'm still the one making my decision, yeah? Because when things go south, the person that advised me won't be there to get me out of a sticky situation. So yeah, basically that's programming for you. Like, so there's people out there that want to build, they want to build, they want, let's say you have a project idea that you want to build. Maybe not even an idea, maybe maybe not even an idea. Maybe you already have a real project in mind, like that's like more than an idea. You already have something worth building in mind that you want to build it. And then you were like, oh, let me go and look for the perfect programming language to build this, or oh, let me look for the perfect backend or the perfect database. You don't always have to use the perfect stuff. There's people out there that like, yo, Python is perfect for this and that, JavaScript is perfect for that and that. But me, basically, I like to use what I know. Like, if I'm comfortable with dots, I'll use dots to build what I want, right? I'll use dots to build what I want. So later on down the line, if I discover that oh, I can't continue with Dart anymore. I'm a very open-minded person, and I'm not afraid to I'm not afraid to quit. I can quit anytime. Basically, I don't have to finish what I started. Just because I started doesn't mean I have to finish. Although I'm responsible and most times I finish what I start, but there are some times when you just gotta say fuck it. I can't continue with this anymore. Let me like change, let me switch up my flow, let me do something different. So like if for example I'm building something with Dart right now because Dart is comfortable for me, I'm MongoDB, and now later on discover that oh shit, I can't continue with Dart anymore because there are some things I need to implement, or there are some modules I need to build. I'm not afraid to go to Java. I'm not afraid to go to any other programming language or any other. Let's say I'm using MongoDB for example, and I need to migrate to SQL. I'm not afraid though. I'm always open to the idea of migrating as long as what I'm doing is worth that migration, because migration is stressful. You kind of have to write a lot of code, and it's basically there's a lot of things that can go wrong. You might accidentally delete your database and all that, but if the whole thing is worth the migration, then by all means I'll migrate. So I'm open-minded to that extent. So we have this Mongo dot, we use it to establish connection. That was, I don't even know who built this, but shout out to the person that built it. It's amazing. It has all the things you need. Not once though. That's all the things you need for MongoDB. Just that it will not have all the things that you want. So Mongo dot depends on Mongo query. So Mongo dot depends on Mongo dot query. So you can see Mongo dot query does not have much. It doesn't really have too much documentation on it, but if you clone the project and you are using it, if you import the package in your repository or in your project and you are using it, you can just command click or control click if you're on Windows. So let's go to my populate. If I want to find more information about, let's say this I don't know, this project, if I want to find more about this project class for example, I could just right click on it and I'll go there. There's a lot of documentation. There's a lot of documentation in the comments. Sorry, in the yeah, there's a lot of documentation in the inside of the actual project. So maybe they might not write proper documentation for the example usage and all, but trust me, if you clone this project or if you import this in your Dart project, you should be able to read some of these and make sense of it. And you can actually relate what they wrote here with the actual MongoDB language. So basically, there's more MongoDB documentation on the MongoDB website linked to the example usage, so you can relate with it and all that. So I'm not, like I said, I'm not an advocate of Dart or MongoDB or any programming language, but me personally, this is what I prefer to use. I've been using this for quite a few months now, or even weeks. I don't know if it's up to a month, but I've been using this for some time now, and I feel comfortable using it, man. So don't get me wrong, though. This is not. I'm not saying this is the best way to build backend or anything. I'm just saying that this is what I prefer to use, or this is what I'm comfortable with right now. Maybe until I found a better solution, but just bear in mind that I'm not really the type of person that go around jumping from one programming language to another. I don't leave the programming language or the tech stack that I'm in unless I'm trying to implement a feature that absolutely requires me to like migrate. You get me? So yeah. So that's it. That's it basically. So I don't really, so things to note about me, I don't like JavaScript, babe. I don't like JavaScript. In fact, I'm very picky. I'm a very picky programmer. Like there are some kind of things I just don't like. It's not like I can't work with it. I could work with JavaScript, but I just prefer to stay clear of JavaScript. So if I'm trying to build, let's say I'm trying to build a website for my project, for example, I will probably use Flutter Web. I know you people are out there like, yo, Flutter Web is this and that and that. Trust me, Flutter Web is way more comfortable for me to use than JavaScript. Although when you are working with Flutter Web now, there are some you might run into some little issues out there whereby you kind of have to write some JavaScript for your you kind of have to write some HTML and JavaScript for your maybe something as simple as maybe something like a splash screen, for example, like a loading splash screen that shows before your website loads. You might have to write that using HTML and CSS. So obviously I'm coming from an HTML from a web background and all, like I have a good knowledge of HTML, CSS, and even React. So that should not be a problem for me. But as for people out there that all they know is Flutter, it's gonna be a problem for them. It's gonna be like it won't be a big issue. You can kind of have your JavaScript friend write maybe a little script for you anyway, or you can ask ChatGPT, man. You guys should learn how to use ChatGPT. We have Google Stack Overflow, we have Stack Overflow and all, but AI, man, search engines are great and all, but AI though, like sometimes you can just ask ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would kind of already know what you're trying to do, and it will give you a very, very good solution, or it will point you in the right direction. I'm not saying you should copy, you should build a project whereby you are relying on ChatGPT to build the project. ChatGPT does not if you don't have good programming skills, ChatGPT is not going to magically make you a better programmer overnight. Like you should still read documentation, you should still watch YouTube videos, you should still be a programmer that you are. You should still solve problems on a daily basis to maintain that engineering capability that we programmers have. Like we have this capability of solving problems and all. You should still maintain that too. I'm not saying you should become lazy and rely on ChatGPT or rely on AI full time. So when I notice that there are some things I might want to do with ChatGPT and ChatGPT might just not be able to do it, then I'll go to the alternative. I'll go to Google Gemini. So surprisingly, ChatGPT is very brilliant, but unfortunately, there are some cases where ChatGPT might fall short, and I'll just go to Google Gemini. Google Gemini will do it, and there are some places where Google Gemini will fall short. Then I'll just go to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT would surprisingly handle it. It's kind of like most of the things ChatGPT is lacking, Google Gemini has it, and things that Google Gemini is lacking, ChatGPT have it. That's one, and there's two. And then there is three. The things that both ChatGPT and Google Gemini cannot do. Those two. If you find yourself in that situation, what would you do? Well, well, after all, you're an engineer, you figure it out by yourself, innit? I mean, before ChatGPT and Google Gemini, how were we doing it? We had our ways. You can reach out to your friends, your mentors, you can even post a question on Stack Overflow and wait for like 600 years for someone to answer it. Who knows? But then, at the end of the day, AI, no AI, everybody go deal okay. So I'm just here vibing. It's the middle of it's basically early morning. It's like 4:40 a.m. in the morning, Monday morning. So like I'm just here vibing and ranting and talking my shit. Nobody cares. I mean, I don't even expect anybody to care. Nobody should come out here and tell me shit about my opinion and my takes. So, like, I'm just here talking my shit. Like, if you have contrary opinion, you can go and talk your own shit too. Don't come and tell me nothing, man. Nobody can tell me shit anyway. I just did. I just did here, man. So that is that about DartFrog, and I'm just showing you a little bit of insight on DartFrog, and I like how these Dart programmers that build this plugin, they write nice documentation for their plugin. It's just you can just command click on the object and it will take you into the file, and you can see a lot of useful documentation. I know it's amazing, man. It's kudos to these people, man. It's crazy. So yeah, what else am I gonna talk about? Yeah, I'm talking about YouTube. I don't know now. I've been meaning to like post on YouTube and all, but
I just haven't found the time, or maybe I'm just lazy. But for some weird reasons, I always promise myself by I always have a schedule. I always like have like a schedule and timeline when I'm gonna work on my YouTube and all. But I just never get to work on it. Is it procrastination? Is it laziness? Is it that I don't have time? But honestly, I'm not gonna pretend like I'm a busy man, that I'm too busy to do this and that. Like I don't even have much doing anyway. Like I'm not even that busy. Like I'm not that busy for real. Like I'm actually not that busy of a person. Like I won't say I'm a busy man. I won't say I'm too busy doing this and that, so I don't have time for this. I'm actually not that busy, but somehow I end up not having enough time to do all the things that I want to do. But obviously, there's like scale of preference, there is priorities and all. So I basically get shit done. The most important things I have to do in a day or in a week, I usually make sure I get them done. But I just maybe YouTube is just not that big on my priority list right now. Or maybe I just need to like find a better schedule. Or I don't know, man, I need to do something differently. But somehow, I just realized that I really want to do this YouTube thing, but I just never get the time to do it, man. It's long. Like I don't even I don't even have time to play games no more. Like I would be on my I don't know, PlayStation. I used to play PlayStation before, but nowadays I don't even have time to play PlayStation. I just spend most of my time in front of my laptop, front of my laptop, working and working. Like I just don't have time for other things anymore nowadays. It's like funny. I'm not that busy. Like I'm not busy, but at the same time I'm busy. Like the things I'm working on are not really something I can say. I'm like, oh, I'm busy. If someone calls me for an emergency or for something now, I can't tell them I'm busy. I will leave what I'm doing and I'll go. And so the things I'm doing are not like that important. Although I have important things to do, I get the important things done, and the things after those important things are not super important. It's basically like me working on side projects and working on demo project and studying. I'm not saying study is not important, but like study is not that much important. It's not like I have an exam or anything. So studying self-development, skill acquisition and stuff. Just personal, I'm just developing myself as a person generally. Like trying to become a better version of myself, yeah. So that's basically what I've been up to nowadays. I'm not saying those things are not important, but it's not a pressing issue. But I just feel like I don't really have the hunger for YouTube. I don't really have the hunger for YouTube yet. I don't have enough hunger for YouTube. Maybe that's why I'm not getting my YouTube stuff done. But I know at some point I will start taking this YouTube thing seriously. But for now, I don't know, man. But you guys should excuse me for my the way I talk, my profanity and all. I know people don't like how I talk and all, like, but that's how I talk. You get used to it, man. You get used to it. But hopefully, maybe another day, I might do another one of these my ranting videos, and maybe I can call someone to join me and we can talk together, we can chat together instead of me talking alone and all. But I do talk alone, and talking alone is actually not a problem for me. Like some people feel like when you're talking alone, then something is wrong somewhere. But brev, I do talk alone sometimes, and it's not really a problem for me though. Like I don't know, man. Is it only me that talk alone? I do talk alone though. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, if you have something you want to build, don't spend 200 years looking for the perfect technology and programming language to build it. Build what you want to build using the technology that you know. It's better to use what you know than to use what you don't know. If someone tell you, "Oh, I'm using Nest.js to build my own," just because your friend is using Nest.js to build his own backend for a startup, that doesn't mean you should go and use Nest.js. If you don't know yet Nest.js and you are not ready to put in enough time to study Nest.js, then better use the PHP that you know, or the, I don't know, the whatever framework that you know, maybe Spring Boot. It's better to do that than to go and jump on Nest.js. Then you run into some palaver, and It's basically going to slow you down and it's going to give you a bad developer experience. It's gonna make your life miserable and all. Don't do it, man. Just build with what you know. At the end of the day, though, when you are done building your projects, when you are done building your project and you deploy and you have real users using it, your users, an average user does not care whether the app was built with PHP. They don't even know. Like, do they know? How would they know? An average user doesn't know what you use to build your app. All they know is that the app is working and it works fine, and the app is a good solution to the problem that they want to fix. Maybe your app is a good service to the users. Maybe your music player or your audio player works well the way the user wants it to work, or maybe your book app or your whatever app, or even your websites, or whatever it is that you are building, as long as it works the way your user wants it to work, then that is the bare minimum. So anything after that, it just comes down to maybe developer experience. So if you're working with a team, if you have a team of developers, you want to work with a programming language where like most of your team members are comfortable in, so that you can try to maintain like the same stack for all your projects. Maybe if you are building JavaScript, you might want to build both your front end and back end with JavaScript, although it's not always necessary, but sometimes if you build both your front end and back end with the same programming language, it kind of gives you an advantage, especially for your team members. So people can actually collaborate more and they can even share code. You can reuse a lot of code and all that. But all that does not really matter to the users. Even the users don't even know all that. They don't even notice all that. Like, it doesn't matter to them for real. Like, the user does not even see that. So all they see is that your app works and there are no unusual crashes, you know there are no issues. Of course there will be little bugs here and there, but it's not something bad enough to chase a user away. So yeah, so that's what you need, man. Boys and girls, build what you want to build. Don't spend 600 years thinking of what you will use to build it. Just, if you know what you want to build, start building it. Like, start building it ASAP. But of course, you have to make some research too. You kind of have to make little research for what you want to build. Like, you kind of have to like search for, which database you want to use, which database is best for the stuff that you want to build. But at the end of the day, though, some of us prefer SQL, some of us prefer no SQL. Me personally, I've I've not really used SQL before. Most of the time, I use no SQL. I use MongoDB. I use Firebase. MongoDB and Firebase mostly though. I've tried to use SQL before. Like, that thing is stressful. Like I said, I'm a lazy programmer. I don't like stress. I don't like anything that has stress in it. I don't have anything that has to do with stress. Anything that has to do with um anything that has to do with SQL, I usually avoid it because you have to set up tables, you have to install Postgres, you have to install MySQL to get to a point whereby your Mac launchpad will be full of elephant icons. Those PHP, Postgres, elephant icon. And those, when you install MySQL and Postgres, those things will be messing with your system settings on your local machine. So that thing pisses me off for real. Like, that thing pisses me off, like, really. Like, that thing is very, it's fucking annoying. Like, I don't like it, man. So I try to avoid anything that's gonna like raise my blood pressure. Although there are some things that are just unavoidable. Same way I try to avoid Docker too. I always look for ways to deploy my project without using Docker, because Docker, I don't know, man. There's a lot of extra steps involved and shit, but more time I just try to like clone my project on my server, then run it like that. Especially if I'm not like deploying the project, especially if I'm not building a real project. If I'm just building a demo project, I tend to just clone it on the server and run it, especially for demo projects. But if I'm building like a real project for a startup and all, I would take up my time to set up my code my CI/CD, continuous integration, and all that, GitHub Actions and everything. But usually, I tend to push. Usually, when I'm building demo project, I'll just push. I'll be pushing to main. I'll push to my GitHub main branch ASAP. Push to my GitHub main branch directly, and from there, I'll take it from there. I know that's cowboy style of coding, but honestly, I want to be. I want to build things as fast as possible. I don't want to spend too much time sending pull requests. Imagine me back in the days, I would send pull requests and only me send pull requests. Only me go see approve my own pull request to merge into into dev. Then I go come still merge dev into main. Like if I'm the one, if I'm the only one building the project, if I'm the only one working on the project, then I don't need all that. I will just be pushing to main directly. I know some of you will think, oh, that's whack, that's man. That's not that one. That one are your own business, man. Me, I'll do what works for me. If I'm the only one working on the project, I will push to main directly. But if I'm working with someone else, or if I'm not the only one working, then we tend to like follow due process. We tend to push to other branch, then merge into dev, then merge dev to main, then you fire up your deployment and all that. But otherwise, I go just dey push to main. I no send. Anyway, those are my own. Yeah, obviously, everything I say in this video is my own opinion and my own whatever. And I don't expect anybody to. I don't hold anybody to my own standard. I'm the only one that's doing all these things that I'm doing. I don't expect anybody to do the things that I'm doing. Obviously, I do dangerous things. I live dangerously. I do risky things all the time, and not everybody is a risk taker like me. Not everybody is a risk taker like me. I do dangerous things, man. Like pushing to main directly and deploying, like cloning your stuff on the server and running it. These things are crazy to like most developers, but to me, this are normal thing where they always do. So me nobody tell me anything. Like all these things, like most of these things, I do these things when I'm the only one working on the project, right? But if I'm like in most cases when I'm working with a team, usually I work alone, but like the times when I work with teams, I usually follow due process. So the only reason it's not like I don't like pushing to dev and doing things the right way, but if I'm working alone, there's kind of no need for that, right? There's kind of no need for that, especially if I'm the only one. Like if I'm the one deploying the stuff and all that, I can easily just push to main directly. So obviously, sometimes when I'm working alone, I still push to dev and all. That's when the project gets very complex and all. I kind of want to start pushing to little branches, and I want the main branch to be as clean as possible. Like I don't want all these little tiny commits in the. I want only big commits, like the commits that matters to be in the main. So I kind of have to break shit down, innit? But both both working with a team and working alone, I do both. I've been a freelancer. I've worked with companies. You know, I've worked I've worked with different people all my life, and also I'm very very open minded, and I tend to adapt to the way people work. But then when I work alone, I have my ways of doing my things, innit? So some of them might come across as weird and unconventional, but man, that's my own way, innit? So yeah, if anybody is looking to work with me, I don't usually force my standards on anybody. So like I'm very open-minded, by the way. I'm not like I'm not like going to stand on my decision and force everybody to do what I'm doing or anything. I just have my own ways of doing my stuff, but then yeah, you know how things go, man. So yeah, I have to continue playing video games, man. Like it's been a while since I played games. Like I don't know, man. Something is just I don't know. The internet nowadays has been really messed up. I've not been able to play games online, man. I need to probably there's something very, 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 very iffy about my internet. I just can't play games online. I can't really play games online nowadays. But closing remarks is that I'm not an advocate. I do what I do. I work alone most times, but I work with people too. I work with companies. I work employment, freelance. I've done different things all my life, man. Like I have so many different experiences. I've even I don't know, man. Like so basically, I'm trying to like take this YouTube thing seriously. So I don't know if I should probably post this particular video on YouTube too, Sha. I should probably post this video on YouTube. I don't know, Sha. Anyhow we go see, we go be now. So yeah, peace out, man. So boy, peace out, man. Peace out, man. Fresh programmer, school, man.